Well, here we are live. Thank you, everyone. This is Sunday Night Live. That is time for me to answer questions that have been sent in. And I love doing this. I love being here. And what I love the most is that there's no money involved. Because my feeling, and I know I'm alone in this, but I believe that when money is a variable between people, the relationship can no longer be authentic. That may not be true, but anyway. And plus, here's the other thing: no one owns knowledge. No one. So how can you sell something you don't own? Anyway, that's why I have trouble. That's why I'm not rich at all. No, not even anywhere near it. But anyway, I'm so happy to be here. Welcome to Sunday Night Live and Monday morning for those people in Asia. And I'm glad everyone is here. And I love your comments. You're just fantastic, incredible people. So anyway, so let's get started now. A few things I need to say at the beginning, and that is, one of them is, let me see about this here. Okay, is this it? No, that's that. Where is it? Come on. Don't you love this? I am not the master of technology. My marketing team leader was telling me today that I've got to develop a better relationship with technology because I realize that it's my energy interferes with it. So every time I start to try to work with technology, um, it fails, even if it works and easily for someone else. For some reason, my energy does not synchronize, does not harmonize with technology, and that's true. It's because I just can't help it, but I hate it. So anyway, that's not why we're here today, but I just wanted to let you know that, okay, I'm getting better, right? So things are happening. Okay, we're live. All right, now, I want to make a couple of things known to people. I'm we're right now. It'll probably happen within a couple weeks. I'm hoping. Um, uh, Gonna start adding different programs because this is not enough. This one time a week being live. And one of the big problems with being live in this format is that the structure of this format is that I answer questions that were sent. And of course, as we're going, you all have questions. And I try to get to a couple, but I really have an obligation to get to all the people that already sent them in. And I never, even if we were here, if we were here 4 hours, I could probably do it. It's a lot of questions, and I get it. So what we're going to do is split up group. We're going to continue. We'll always have this live stream on Sunday nights. However, we're going to split up other ones with individual people that have different locations where their CFCs formed, like for breast, ovarian, pancreas, colon. So I was have special groups just for that, so we can deal with that. Where I'll give a little talk on that particular subject, maybe 30 minutes, 20 minutes, and then I'll take live questions. And then that's almost going to be like a consultation because what I'd like to do is also save you money on the consultation, because consultations are, even though I'm lower than, other people that have been doing this as long as I have, it's still high for some people, and I get it. So I thought if we could get memberships in individual groups, and then it's almost like a group consultation. However, I can't, all the lawyers and stuff won't let me give it, but it'll work. Believe me, it'll work, and it'll be much better. It'll be cheaper. So as about that, and then there's other one I want to do, and I want to talk about this right away. To let you all know something here. Okay. Um, Before I do that, I have to tell you this: that there's a free Jonathan Otto online event coming up pretty soon. um, which I participated in. So I think it was a really good interview. I don't remember the details of it. I just remember leaving there thinking, oh, that's good. So anyway, Jonathan Otto, OTTO. It's like anyway, to find out about it, you can go to my website, drlodi.com. But it's not just me; it's other people too. I'm just saying, but I'll be on there. So that's coming up, and it might answer some questions you might have. Um, and also another one: if you've got CFCs and it's hard to get in touch with me, an Oasis of Healing in Arizona. We've been there 19 years, and that's that's where to go if you can. You know, there will soon be a second place in Asia. Probably the end of April will be opening, but and go to either one. So I suggest if you're North American or maybe Europe, um, you would go to the one in America, and then but if you're like in Australia, New Zealand, and Middle East, and Asia, then I would go to Thailand. But anyway, it's your choice. You can go anywhere you want. And I'm going to be going back and forth more often because I really need to be present at both places. Just because um, I have to uh, maintain the spirit. Okay, what is the spirit I'm talking about? I'm talking about the spirit of healing. And the problem is that doctors were educated more than we were. I mean, the average person who didn't go to medical school or dental school, educated in the false uh, myth of diseases, and they think that way. They can't help it. That's what they were. That's how they were trained. So, one of the things I have to do is continually remind them. And listen, by the way, how do we think? I mean, what is thinking? Well, thoughts. Okay, so thoughts represent concepts usually. And in order, so the word I use, the words that we use that are in our mind that are our language are the scaffolding or the hold or the structure, the holding up of uh, the definition of our mind, of our thinking, and that means a paradigm. So if you're talking about diseases which don't exist, it's a mythological thing. So anything that you would hear from a doctor who's talking about a disease, it can't be correct because there are no diseases. And you all know that, hopefully by now, you all know that. There are no diseases, right? Diseases are not things out there that get into us, which is, the fundamental underlying belief system that, you're going to get diabetes, you're going to get hypertension, high blood pressure, you're going to get arthritis, you're going to get CFCs, whatever. You don't get anything, okay? What happens is your body was designed to optimally function in a particular environment called your biological niche. For example, a frog needs to be in a pond. I mean, that's just what it needs to be. If you put it somewhere else, it just doesn't have what it needs to satisfy its biological requirements, and it goes through all sorts of adaptive processes to try to maintain its functional integrity through homeostasis. Um, but it's likely to get sick and not make it very long, right? A polar bear in the Amazon jungle. It might survive, but it's not going to be at its best. Okay, so anyway, so we most of us have left our biological niche because, by the way, remember we're equatorial creatures, equatorial around the equator and sub-equatorial zones. That's where our biology is designed for. And so, if we were there and we had no artificial satisfy our biological requirements, psychological requirements, and spiritual requirements, the consequence is what we call health or optimal functioning. Um, when we don't satisfy, when our biological, psychological, spiritual needs are not being satisfied, the adaptation required to maintain functional integrity is what they're calling a disease. It's not. It's an adaptation. So when you understand that, all you got to do is supply the biological needs, get rid of anything that's in the way of it, and the adaptation is no longer required. Okay, so, and that's why we don't use the word cure. You can't cure something that doesn't exist. You don't need to cure some. You can only cure a disease if diseases were true. So when we use the word cure, we're already in the paradigm of the disease model. Okay, so instead, what we want you all to realize is that we're really, in my hardest, um, my biggest challenge with training other doctors is to get them out of that and realize that the goal is not to get rid of diabetes or get rid of CFCs. The goal is to be restored to health. What if you got rid of all your CFCs, but you were paralyzed? What if you got rid of all your CFCs and you had heart failure and you couldn't go to the bathroom without a wheelchair and oxygen? Okay, so we're not looking to get rid of CFCs. We're looking to be restored to health. And guess what? I know you've heard it before, but I can't say it enough. There's only one way to achieve health, and that's through healthy living. Okay? There's no thing you're going to find that's going to produce health. Health is our birthright, unless there's a few of us, about 5% of us, that are born, unfortunately, with genetic problems, and we never see them. We see high functioning Down syndrome, but we don't see the others. They're institutionalized. They can't reproduce, and it's a tragic kind of thing for them. But anyway, other than that, if you're able to sit here and you made it this far, you got a good gene. So forget about the whole gene thing as well. I mean, and realize this: every cell in your body has every gene for the whole body. But your liver cells have silenced everything except liver function. Your kidney cells have silenced everything except kidney function. Okay, that's called differentiation, and that's what happens during our embryonic life. So every cell has everything. So what did the liver cell do? It turned off a whole bunch of genes, and it turned on certain genes. Okay, and actually that can happen through what's called epigenetic changes. Epi means around, above, around, and then genetic. Where's genetic? It's in the nucleus. We have our genes, and that's just a program of all the potential responses and activities that can be done. So whether one gets turned on or off depends on what the cell environment requires. It's not that the DNA decides it. The DNA is the parts department. Okay, it's not ruling anything. It's the parts department. It doesn't know. It's got to get a message, and it gets a message from your membrane. It's called your cellular membrane. Plants have cell walls. We don't have cell walls. We have membranes, which are fluid. Anyway, those membranes are in touch with and have contact only with what's called the interstitial fluid, or the interstitial matrix, or the matrix, or whatever. There's several names for it. It's like fish in an aquarium. Everything they're doing is in response to if there's food or not food, if oxygen, no oxygen. Anyway, their body has to adapt. All right, so just understand that. So there's no disease that gets into you that you have to get rid of. What you need to do is get back to health. How do we get to health? What is healthy living? Well, it's hard for us to know. Why is it hard for us to know? Because we grew up in a world which has a couple of fundamental premises. They don't even have to be. We don't have to be told them explicitly, but they're lies, and our lives are based on them. And one of the greatest lies is that, and we all believe it. We don't believe it. We think we know it. Is that health is impossible and disease is inevitable. So what do? Well, then we better get insurance because we're going to get a disease, right? That's fundamental. You mean you don't have insurance? Well, I don't have medical insurance because I want to arrive at the emergency room. Perhaps I have, and I want them to look and say, "Oh God, we don't want this guy." To me, insurance is a ticket to the show I don't want to see, and that show is called the House of Horrors, and they call themselves hospitals. You know that the same root as the word hospitality. Have you ever been in a more inhospitable environment than a hospital? I haven't. Prison, yeah. I guess I haven't been to prison, but I'm it's got to be about the same. So, anyway, so one of the greatest things you can do is understand that health is our birthright. If you're the 95% born with adequate genetics. Because remember, the genes are the parts department, and the cell membrane is in touch with the environment and will send in messages to say we need this, we need to not have this. Okay. So again, for those of you who have just joined the first time, we don't use the name of the zodiac sign between Gemini and Leo. That's called Cancer. We do not use that to refer to anything in our bodies. Okay, there's no zodiac sign in our bodies. Okay, why else don't we use that word? Because the current medical system that we have is based on Rockefeller and his him and his descendants, and you wouldn't believe who's really in his family. Like, I don't know if you know that Bill Gates and what's his name? One of the Rothschilds, one of the Rockefellers, have the same grandfather. Bill Gates' mother and one of the other well-known Rockefellers have the same great grandmother, I think. So anyway, they're all related. They're all related. Anyway, they took over the medical world in 1910 because they knew something that we should all now know is quite obvious, since people are now doing. The world is now so bizarre you would never ever have imagined it. But what did the Rockefellers know? If you control education, you therefore control the following generations. And look what's happened here, right? What happened when we look at our universities and what we're teaching people? And we're now at the point where we're being told that I mean, I couldn't believe it. I was on, was it World Economic Forum or UN or whatever it is that every child should have an adult sex partner. So, what? And what was it? From 4 years on, they should watch hardcore pornography. What? I don't know. And then the other thing, you can be anything you want. And if you think you're a dog, you can bring somebody with you to school and you're a kid who's going to hold the leash and you can bark. It's okay. And if you're a cat, if you think you're a cat, if you identify with a cat, then they have to have a litter box in the either the boys or girls. I mean, no one could have ever imagined that this would be a reality. In fact, no one would have ever even. I'm sure there was no books ever written or fictional novels ever written about the world we live in today. I saw a thing where this woman was having an argument on the Senate floor with the senator, and she said to the senator, "Do you really not think that men can get pregnant?" And he said, "Of course not. You're transphobic." You know, the fact that this is a debate on the Senate floor now, that this is like what we're talking about is, again, I could never imagined it. I really. And I got a good imagination. So anyway, so everyone remember, we use the word, instead of we using the zodiac sign, we use the word chronically fermenting cells because that's exactly what they are. And in order to be chronically fermenting, that means they're successful at this new operating system. And this new operating system is called fermentation. The old operating system that all of our other cells have is they call it OXPHOS, which stands for oxidative phosphorylation, something that occurs in the mitochondria. So you need completely different enzymes and other enzymes and different proteins, etc., for that. So that once you lose your mitochondria, because you live in the 21st century, you lose a certain proportion of them. You now have to change the operating system so that there's a retrograde response from the inside of the cell that needs energy, because cells need energy more than anything, because without energy they can't have their structure, and then they can't do their work. So the first order of business for a cell is to produce energy. So when you lose your ability, you lose the mitochondria, you have to shift. So you turn this gene on, turn that gene off, turn this one up, and upregulate this one, downregulate this one. And so now you're expressing a different genetics. Okay. It's not that you haven't changed your genetics, it's just the genes that are being used have changed. We're not using these anymore, we're using this. That's all. So in order to be chronically fermenting, you have to have made those changes. They're epigenetic changes. Okay, so epigenetic meaning something from outside has caused certain cells to be turned down and certain cells to be up. Okay, um, so that's what they are. They're CFCs. They're not a zodiac sign, right? So why call them that? Plus, the Rockefeller system has made sure that when you hear that word, that you're being told that you're going to die, and when you hear that, I can't imagine. I mean, I've been doing this a long time, so I've seen many people. I I I can imagine what they experience, what you experience when this happens. It means everything that you had in your plans for life, your agenda, all becomes irrelevant. And this is a shock that causes what is known as post-traumatic stress syndrome. I hate those kinds of things. But anyway, it's the same thing. So anyway, you can't make clear decisions. You can't, because your fear is so deep that you no longer have access to your prefrontal cortex, and you can't make rational decisions. And you agree to do things you would never do, and that's why they have done that. As you all know, fear is how you get people to do things. For your safety, we're going to do this and this and this and this. Oh, okay, well, if it's for my safety, because I'm afraid of whatever. And you understand? So, anyway. Now, remember, we're on all the social medias at just Dr. Lodi. Yeah, at Dr. Thomas Lodi, right? What is it again? Yeah, Dr. Thomas Lodi. Dr. Thomas Lodi. Okay, but so that's Facebook, YouTube, Rumble, Instagram, TikTok, LinkedIn, whatever. We're also on my website, drlodi.com. You can go, you can /live, and you can get on here with that. And then the other one is Twitter or X. Let's just start calling it X. Um, um, but there, because of whatever, it's Dr. Thomas Lodi, MD. You got to put that at the end. Okay, so, and they're all recorded, so you can, if you miss it or you have to do something else and you want to hear what happened, you just go to any of those platforms and online coming event. I'm sure some of the other speakers on that were excellent too. So I mean, it's not just for me, but it'll be worth you watching. All right. So Now, I wanted to say something, okay? And this is, I consider probably the most important. I consider this to be the most important. If you have an agenda, of course, your survival is number one. Of course. But number two is that we are facing the end of humanity. So there's not too many more things. I mean, there's not. What is there anything more important? I don't think so. And it's not that we're facing it at some distant time in the future. We're talking about this year and next year and the year after. It's over. Okay, now I'm going to form a separate group. It's probably going to be on Rumble, and it's called We Are the Elephant. We're not going to talk about health problems. We'll have plenty of forums to talk about health problems. But we are the elephant. And you know I've told you this before. If you want to go up, if you want the elephant to go up the hill, and it sits down and doesn't want to go, it's not going up the hill. So, we are the elephant. We are the 99%. However, at least 70% of us on the planet have been convinced that what's happening is not happening. I mean, I know I am blown away. I when I go to any kind of shop and I'm talking to the clerks, and I talk about this to everybody. Why? It's the most important thing ever to save humanity if we can. It might be Armageddon. It might be the end times. Who knows? It certainly looks like it. But if it is, I just feel it's my duty to scream it at the roof, on the rooftops. I'm not going to be politically correct because why? I'm not a politician, so I don't have to be politically correct. I just have to be correct. Anyway, so it's not time to be nice and all that, and not offend people. You know, by the way, they shouldn't be offended by being told the truth and being told that their children and grandchildren will not have anything close to a happy life. Well, because all that will be left are some genetically modified cyborgs. Yep. You don't have to believe me. And actually, I have to change the word. It's not belief. You don't have to know that. Because that which is true, you either know or you don't know. And that which is not true, you can believe or not believe. So this is true. So if you don't know it, it's time to find out. It is at the top of all of our collective agendas. Okay, so we're gonna have a show about that where we're gonna talk about that. I want to form a coalition. I want to organize the 99% or as many as we can for what? Not to fight, not to, but to be that elephant. Passive resistance. If we don't use the internet, if we don't go to work, if we don't, then the machine that runs all this stops. So that's our power. Power is in not doing. A lot of people are going to disagree, I'm sure, but it is not doing. For example, you're really sick, what should you do? Or you're just a little bit sick, what should you do? Not eat. Not do anything. Rest. Drink water and rest, and you'll heal. You want to win an argument? Stop talking. It's not that you won, it's just that it ended. And that's good for both people having the argument, because the arguments don't work. You got to get past that and then have discussions. Okay, so anyway, I want to form this coalition. I want us to get as big as possible. I want to get as many people as possible so that we can actually start to get organized, because guess what? They're organized. And they're brilliant. I don't say that because I admire them. I'm just saying, look what they did. 2 months, they took down the world. That's pretty powerful. It takes a lot of forethought. Anyway, that's just to let you know. I want to form the group The Elephant. It'll have to be, I think, on Rumble so that we, for as long as possible, we can talk. All right. So let's get into some questions. And remember, I'm really sorry that I can't answer all the questions. So it's not possible. That's why we're going to split things up, so I can, I'll be on more often in different subgroups, etc. Um, okay, here we go. Questions. Oh, that's wrong. That's February 18th. Wait a minute. Here we go. Okay, good. Okay, first one. Myasthenia gravis. This is from Maria. My son, 35, was diagnosed with a mild case of myasthenia gravis in the eye. He has to take a cortisone and another drug. I believe this autoimmune condition started after he took the COVID shot. I won't call it what it isn't. Is there anything natural he can take? He has recently done a liver flush and a 30-day parasite and toxin detox. Well, Maria, you said he recently took one. Was just one or two or three? Because that's a whole nother story. But essentially the same thing. We have to do what? Oh, and by the way, before I answer, but basically, okay, what we have to do is restore balance and it'll be okay. Now, let me explain something too. When I was talking before about there's no such thing as diseases, what there is that in order to maintain the ability to function, our body had to do certain things like become insulin resistant, produce CFCs or whatever. So, what do we have to do? And please, everyone, listen to this because this is really probably answers every question. Okay, and that's this. We have to. Okay, we may or may not be able to identify which group of the toxins that we are exposed to every moment of our life that have resulted in the requirement for this adaptive response that they're calling some disease. But so what we do is we have to get rid of all the toxins in our body. And not just once. Why? Because you will accumulate them again because we're being exposed all the time. So detoxification is an ongoing process. Okay? Just as you have to urinate not just once. You have to continue to urinate because you're going to continue to develop things that you don't have. You're going to have to continue to have bowel movements. You have to continue to breathe. And breathing is not only to get oxygen in, it's to get the carbon dioxide out. So it's an ongoing process. And so we have to build that strategy into our life. How we're going to do it into our lifestyle. And when I say the word lifestyle, what I'm talking about, when I say lifestyle, remember the first word, it's called life. In other words, in order to have a lifestyle, you have to be alive. But the purpose of having a lifestyle you want to have a lifestyle that's compatible with a long and vigorous, robust life. That's the lifestyle you want to have. You don't want to have a lifestyle that is compatible with a shortened, painful life, right? Okay. So, anyway, we've got to clean everything out, and we start with immediately going to a biological dentist, and we get a cone beam CT, 3D. We have it read, and we find out if there's anything in there that needs to be taken care of. Root canals, cavitations, gum, gingival gum, inflammation, infections, and airway troubles. Because then, if you're not getting enough, you wouldn't believe how many people have actually sleep apnea and they don't know it. That means they are not getting enough oxygen and they stop breathing and they wake up. They don't even wake up. That's happening because of the narrowed airways and all that. Because why? Because our jaws are not as developed as they should be. Why are our jaws not developed? Why do we have to pull teeth out? Why do we have like you go to the orthodontist? Why? Because our jaws didn't grow what? Why didn't they grow? Because we weren't eating the food we were designed for. We have these muscles here called masseter muscles. They have a lot of strength, and we have flat molars in the back. And our jaws move vertical and sideways. So we have to be eating things that require grinding. Okay, that will develop the masseters, and which will also develop the proper sized mouth. But if we're eating only processed, like the baby food, and then we continue to eat, like mashed potatoes, uh, meatloaf, and all this stuff that doesn't require much chewing, we develop underdeveloped masseters. We have a deformed jaw, and we wind up having. And that, what does that do? That affects your bite. Your bite, which is called your occlusion, is the top of your spinal cord. It's called C1. And if it's off for whatever reason, the whole spinal cord is off, including the autonomic nervous system and all the peripheral nerves, which is a big deal. So we got to check on that, because you got to be breathing to get enough oxygen. Why? Because oxygen is how we need it, right? It's one of the most important things, right? 5 minutes, no oxygen, it's over. Water's next. 1 week, it's over. No water, it's over. So, but another thing, just to keep in mind always with everything, is that we need what we need and the amount that we need, nothing more and nothing less. Right? Oxygen is really good, and that old American position that, well, if a little is good, a lot is better. Well, turns out to be true of nothing. Can you imagine? Oxygen, really good. Put on 100% mask, breathe 100% oxygen. 2 weeks, 4 weeks, you're going to have emphysema. Now, do we have adequate? Right now, the Earth's atmosphere has 21%. Well, in clean parts, not in downtown Mexico City, not in downtown Bangkok, not in downtown LA, not in London, whatever. But it's 21%, because that's dependent on the conditions of our oceans and the phytoplankton that produce most of the oxygen, and the jungles and stuff. So we know that they've been ripped up, and we know that we don't have as much. So maybe the Earth that was given to us as home by God is had maybe at that point 28% or 30%. I don't know. But anyway, right now it's 21%. So let's at least get that. All right. And then we need to be well oxygenated. So anyway, so breathing is another part of biological dentistry. You do that. What else do? You do a parasite cleanse. Why? Because everybody has parasites. And it's not just once. Because remember, they lay 2,000 eggs or more a day, and each one of those can become at least 2,000 worms. So you've got to do it 3 weeks on, 1 week off, 3 weeks on, 1 week off. How long? Depends on how severely you've been. And unfortunately, parasites, as you know, are undiagnosable mostly. If you have a worm coming out, okay, then. But otherwise, why? Because they're not hanging out to be seen. Otherwise, they wouldn't be good parasites. They're invisible to the immune system. So, and you're not going to find them. So they're hiding in the walls and stuff like that. So anyway, forget about trying to go and find out whether or not you have them. Just know that you have them. Just like you should know that you've got heavy metals that are in you. What are heavy metals? Heavy metals are metals that have no physiological function, and they usurp, because they are stronger, they're heavy. They're stronger, so they displace zinc in all of its 150 enzyme systems. Uh, they displace selenium. When they displace these essential minerals with the heavy metals, the consequences are everything. And we have them. But we know now that the aerial spraying is giving us nano-sized aluminum, and everyone's got it. Okay, so I don't even. I would only test if you didn't believe me, because there's no. Why should I spend money on testing to find out what you must have because you live on this planet, and there's no rainwater. By the way, there's no more any rainwater anywhere on the earth that is not polluted with aluminum and other things. All right, but anyway, if you need to be tested, we can test you. But so that those have to be chelated out, and we all have BPA, bisphenol A. It's in everything, and everybody's got like too much. And you realize that since it has no physiological role, the optimal amount that you should have is 0. Just like lead, you should have 0 lead. It has no physiological function, etc. Mercury, no physiological function, etc. But anyway, and so we have all that. We have the plastics, the phthalates, anyway, there's just we all have all of them. So we can. So if you didn't know that, we can test you and show you. But again, you don't need a weatherman to know which way the wind blows. Thank you, Bob Dylan. So anyway, so we need to clean everything out with the juice cleanse and colon hydrotherapy and lymphatic work and going to sleep early and all that stuff, and then moving around all day long and making sure that your body is, the blood's flowing and all your muscles and joints and ligaments are being utilized and all that, right? Because if you don't use it, you lose it. So that's what you got to do. Okay, whatever you have, that's fundamentally what you have to do is get rid of all that stuff. And then what are you going to do? Well, let me tell you, I don't care what doctor you can say. Well, he's good. He's written up as the number one, whatever. Okay, but no doctor other than surgeons can do anything for you. I mean, a surgeon can pull out fix the knife wound, can fix a broken leg, can help if the baby's coming out feet first. You can't get it out. You can do the C-section. There's a lot of things they can do. You have a mask gonna block. Okay. But other than that, we can't do anything. Why? Because the medical system is. I have a new cookbook. Took your course, and I am following most aspects. I am biological. I follow. I have not had. Oh, okay. I'll talk to you later. Mara. Anybody ever remember that song by the Rolling Stones? What a drag it is getting old. Yeah. Well, you don't know that until you get old. But I think it was called Mother's Little Helper. It was different, but I'm saying it's getting old. Getting older is, of course, the preferable to the alternative, but you want to get that way with vigor and vitality. Okay, that's how we were designed. So keep in mind, you guys that are young, and because the ones that are over 50 already know this, the first 50 years in life are free. You can do almost anything you want. The second 50, you've got to earn. So hopefully by the time you are 50, you've learned how to earn that second 50. And since we were designed to live probably close to 1,000 years, that's like not even minimum. Okay, so anyway, you got to clean everything out. And now here's the other thing. What I'm saying that nobody, not even the surgeons that fix things, don't know, don't understand, cannot possibly, and neither can AI, possibly comprehend 36 septillion chemical reactions going on every second that are moving in a, like, you understand, like, if you've got this metabolic cycle, if it doesn't have this, it goes this way into this cycle, and the complexity is incomprehensible. And it's 21 zeros, so 36 septillion every second, and you're making new cells and recycling other cells at 37 million cells per second. Okay, so no one can understand it, and we don't know. Like, for example, well, why is my uric acid going up and this is going down? You know, because we can never understand the complexities of the homeostatic process. Maybe this need not maybe this needs to go up at this time, because remember, the body can only do what's necessary. It didn't learn anything else. It's not hardwired by the intelligence that is the underlying fabric of our reality, of reality, and that's called God. Because again, please, I know people have different religions, but God does not have genitals, doesn't need to procreate. So it's not a he, she, and it's not an it, because that'd be kind of rude. So it's hard to refer to it. And people that claim to be atheists, what they're saying is they're not going to go along with this idea that there's a guy up there with a beard and he gets angry and all that. They're not going to go along with that. And I don't blame them. I don't go along with it either. All right. So anyway, that's but obviously God, the intelligence of the universe, which is more intelligent than we can understand. That's what I'm saying. We can't comprehend it. How about the stars? How's it all happening? And predictable. Every June 1st, the Big Dipper will be there. Orion's Belt will be there. Anyway, so whatever condition you have, please listen. Don't think you have anything unique. You have a different manifestation of toxicity. It's all the accumulations of toxins, and your body has to adapt. I mean, that's really what it is. And there are no different diseases. There are no different conditions. And I don't just know that as a concept. I've seen it happen. I had a guy on week 6, I guess, of his, he had prostate CFCs, and we had an appointment to get together, and he started crying and gave me tears of joy. You didn't tell me that my arthritis would get better. You didn't tell me that everything started to get better. Why? Because his body no longer needed to adapt. Because all of those problems are adaptations. Here's the problem for us. Most of us live in urban settings. And even if you live in a rural setting, you're in a town, and you're living in a box, and you're driving around in the car or whatever. So, and you've got all this, all this artificiality, and, we're eating stuff some of the stuff that we're eating once was food. And then there's some food. There is some food around. Anything in a package is not food. You don't need a label for food. And food is, now, what kind of food should we eat? Earth food. Or food that the earth produces. Why? Because we're earthlings. Pretty simple. Anyway, I wanted to do that. And I also wanted to remind you just one other thing. So what do we have to do? We can't comprehend it, so we just help you by teaching and guiding and help and all the things we can do, IVs and all that, to restore balance in every system. What systems? Well, in your autonomic nervous system, your endocrine system, your hormones, your gastrointestinal, the gut biome, everything. Everyone has to. We've got to clean the gut out, and we have to restore. We have to let it heal, because we all have leaky gut. You don't have to go get tested. You've got leaky gut because we have all been exposed to, if we've had any antibiotics or any medicine at all, then we've destroyed or produced an imbalance of our microbiome, which can no longer maintain the health of our gastrointestinal system. And so this, plus if you, the volume of food and the frequency of food and the fact that it's not really food um, uh, will cause the tight junctions in the cells to break apart, and you have what's called leaky gut. So you got to heal that. You got to put in the good bacteria, and remember these healthy bacteria are responsible for our immune system, our moods, keeping our blood from clotting um, too much or bleeding. I mean, and it goes on and on and on. Uh, we'll do a talk one day on the gut biome, what it does. But anyway, without restoring that, you can't be in balance. And by the way, listen, these organisms that live in our body, there's 100 trillion of them. Without them, we're dead. Without a heart, we're dead. Without a liver, we're dead. Therefore, are they them or are they us? Do we need to redefine what is us? Like, is it me? Without a heart, I'm not alive, so that's me, part of me. When me, I'm saying me, I'm talking about the physical body, which is one aspect of the mind, body, spirit complex. Um, but in other words, so I need these organisms. So this whole idea of germs and all that is just nonsense. And of course, the disease model is morphed from the germ theory, that the germs are causing anything. I mean, look at the words we use. That's why I'm telling you, words are really important. The word germ tells you it's something bad. They're not germs. They're microorganisms that we need. They make amino acids. Nothing else does. They keep the carbon and all these different cycles happening. If they weren't around, there would be no life on Earth. And where are they? Everywhere except one place. It's sulfur acidic well in Ethiopia. Otherwise, they're up to 70 kilometers above the Earth, 2 kilometers into the ocean, and everywhere else, all over your body, millions and billions of species. And without them, you're dead. So, anyway, so you restore the gut, and you restore balance to everything, and the consequence is health. And your goal is to restore health, not to get rid of any particular manifestation of toxemia. Okay, I was with that. And one last thing I don't know if you guys know Chris Christopherson, but he was amazing. I mean, he wrote songs that for other people, kind of like, Carole King. She had written so many songs for other people, and a lot of people don't know what she wrote. But anyway, Chris Christopherson did the same. But he wrote one song that I love, and I would like, if you all get a chance, listen to it. It's called "To Beat the Devil," and one of the things I love about it is he says in there, I still don't believe that no one wants to know. So he's going to keep singing. And that's how I am about telling the truth. I still don't believe that no one wants to know. So I'm going to keep doing it. So anyway, listen to that song. It's pretty cool song. All right. So Maria, regarding myasthenia gravis in the eye, he got a shot by Pfizer or Moderna, and you're right. It's probably, you got about 99.999999999% chance that that's what caused it. So now you've got to be taking. He's got to do everything we just talked about. He's got to get his immune system as balanced as possible. Go to sleep early, all that sort of thing. Take a natto kinase, which you can find in any health food store. Probably depends on how many boosters. I would say 2 or 3 on an empty stomach 3 times a day, because they dissolve the spike protein. They keep the blood thin, because one of the things that happens is you get clots. Some people refer to it as a clot. If you want to heal the liver, just like if you want to heal anything, what do? You let it rest. How do you let the liver rest? By not eating. So, juice cleanse is good, but you're still eating. Fasting gives it a break. But not everybody's ready to fast. So I would have to meet him and talk to him, and work with him, and find out where he's at in his journey and what he knows and all that. So, but you know, the parasite cleanse goes on and on and on, at least 12 times. So at least 12 cycles of 3 weeks on, 1 week off. And then you don't know. And then let's say you did get them all. Then once a year, still do it for 3 months. So do what? 3 cycles just to keep yourself that way. Because again, you're going to run into them again. You are running into them again. Okay, so here's another one. This is Opriya. Hello, I have a dog, a girl that has head, cheek, mouth, and throat CFCs. Please help me. Tell me what I should do to help her. I use turmeric and vitamin C and B17. Should I use fasting, Hunter? Please answer. I need your help. I need help. All right, listen. I'm not a veterinarian, so but what I know about animals is when they should not be eating, they don't. Okay, so fasting. Should you fast him? If he shouldn't eat, he will not eat, or she will not eat. Plenty of water. I would get organic, live food. Okay, and you can make it. And yes, dogs are scavengers, so they can eat vegetables. They can live their whole life on vegetables. A cat can't. It's an obligate carnivore, but a dog can't. Or it can live on. It can eat animals too. But if you serve them animals, make sure it's uncooked and fresh. And you can also blend up broccoli and blend up some other vegetables and try to make it into a nice little thing and make it delicious. But again, they need to eat that kind of food. Those are the best thing you can do. And as far as the CFCs go, more than likely this poor animal was what they call vaccinations. There are no vaccinations, none. God gave us an immune system that allows us to have immunity if we exercise it. Just like we have muscles and they can get bigger if you exercise them. Just like your mind can get stronger if you read, if you debate, if you write, if you learn a language, use it. Same thing with the immune system. But unfortunately, and these injections, since they're not preventing anything, they're causing a problem. So I don't know what he's at. But again, I don't know really what to give a dog. Like, for example, I didn't know dogs are not supposed to eat chocolate. I didn't. I found that out. So in other words, it's really hard for me. I have the most respect for veterinarians because they know all these different species. All we learn is the human species, but we learn biology, so that's fundamental biology, biochemistry, etc. And dogs and cats and giraffes and elephants, and we all have, even frogs, they're very similar. But again, they have different dietary requirements and different what's a normal heart rate. So anyway, I can't. But now there was a holistic. You got to find a holistic veterinarian. Now, even though dogs make vitamin C normally, they make it to their needs. Giving them extra is good. But I don't know if there's in the dog world, if there's a virus or whatever that's involved. But even though there are no viruses, whatever it is that they use to make viruses. Okay, so I'm sorry I can't give you more help with that. Okay, here's a question from Michael, and he's saying prostate CFCs, and he's saying, he's been following for a while, and he goes 3 weeks on, 1 week off. What length of time? And that's what I just said. I would do it if you have CFCs anywhere. I would do it for 12 cycles at least, and then the only way you can find out is acupuncture meridian assessment, which is, or anybody that's really good at EDS, electrodermal stimulation, which is able to pick up on subtle energy differences, because there's like really no other way to find them. But so in fact, even in dentistry, when you do the cone beam and all that, because of the limitations of the actual CT technology, there's about 10 to 15% of stuff you can't identify. But you can with if you have the ability to test the energy going through the meridians. So you could, I would say 12, and then 12 cycles, and then you could go like to Dr. Simon Yu in St. Louis, or find out anybody that's been trained by him who's good at it. Or you can just say, okay, well, I'm gonna stop now, and then in a few months I'll do another 3 months, or what, it's okay. You understand? I think you've got to go find someone who can test you. Okay. Now, this is Misty, and can you share a recommendation for DCIS, ER positive, PR positive? I am so far going against SOC, standard of care. Remember, it's not standard of care, it's standard of scare, okay? Because they don't care. And eating clean, exercising more sleep, etc. I've been working with a functional medicine doctor for supplements, and I'm going to Hopkins for second opinion. You're going to Johns Hopkins. I'm sure they'll tell me the same thing, but I think I need someone to follow me with ultrasound. Okay, all right, here's the thing. The recommendations for DCIS are at minimum lumpectomy and chemo and radiation. And remember, DCIS is ductal carcinoma in situ, and it's called stage 0. So remember that, everyone. My idea of 0 means nothing. I don't know. Right. So in any way, and so how many women, since we started doing mammograms and find all these DCIS, and they wind up doing either lumpectomies, mastectomies, unilateral or bilateral mastectomies, and then give them chemo and radiation, and they die. And you say, oh, well, now after all, I did all that, and then it metastasized to my liver, so I'm glad at least I got started. No, you have to understand that high-dose chemo does cause metastasis, and that radiation does cause metastasis. And I will be listing all the references to the things I say on my website. There's tons of studies. So what I would say is you need to do what I was talking about, everything from biological dentistry to everything. You have to do that. You say you're eating clean. I'm not sure what that means. There's only one way to eat. However, most of us can't or don't want to because we weren't raised that way. But you should at least do it until the DCIS is no longer discoverable. And that is eat uncooked earth food, plant food. Right? And it doesn't just have to be carrots and lettuce, it doesn't have to just be salads. It can be delicious. You wouldn't believe how delicious the food we have. I mean, it can be really, really delicious. And it has to be delicious. Otherwise, it's not even good for you. Can you imagine that? Wait, let me just grab my water. One second, please. Okay. So sorry about that. So sorry about that. Oh, by the way, women, the ladies out there, if you have if you ever do anything like you list your gratitudes or something like that. What happened? How did this go off? Oh, did TikTok kick me off again? What did I say? Huh? Oh, hold on one second. Did they kick me off again? What did I say? What did I say? I didn't say anything about transphenos. Um, I can't believe it. Okay. Wow. I don't know what happened, you guys, on TikTok, but I apologize. Yeah, I just noticed that the phone was off. I don't even know how long it was off. So anyway, come on, stop it. What are you doing? What's this emergency SOS iPhone initiated? God, what's the emergency? Remember, are we on TikTok? What the heck happened? My God, what happened? I don't know how long you guys were off. Anyway. Listen, I want to tell you, ladies, when you do your gratitudes for the day, if you do that, if you say I'm grateful for this and that and this, be grateful you don't have a prostate. No fun. Uh, when you get older. Okay. Yeah. Here's Michael. Good day. Okay. Yeah. We did that one. Okay. So anyway, DCIS. Remember. So what do you have to do? You have to do everything that we said about cleansing and then eating real food. Real food. Real food is earth food, produced by the earth for earthlings, and every earthling is fitted by their anatomy and physiology and instincts to eat certain things. And the biggest problem with human beings is that our instincts have been, we were told early on, even before we could talk, that our instincts were unacceptable. And we had learned how to be culturally appropriate. And so we become good Americans, good Canadians, good Germans, good Chinese, good whatever. But you know what? As I've said before, and I'll say it again, when we die, we don't turn back into Germany or America or China. We turn back into Earth. So we're Earthlings, okay? Yeah. Um, so you got to eat Earth food. And if you think you can eat animals, go eat them. But remember, you got to eat them alive. Or, and they'll be dying while you eat them. So when they are dead, okay, yeah, don't do anything to them, right? Just as a reminder too, if anybody out there thinks, and I had somebody comment that they used to like me, and then they found out that I advocated a plant-based diet, and he said I have been eating, I've been a carnivore, I've been a carnivore for whatever 5 years eating no plants, and I never felt better and all that stuff. And there's none of you, no one's on a carnivore diet, okay, because you do not eat animals alive. All right, carnivores, the cats, panthers, lions, tigers, they eat animals alive. Your cat will go out catch a bird and eat it. Dogs are scavengers. They They can kill if they have to, but they just eat corpses. So that's what you are, not a carnivore. You're a corpse eater. But just admit I'm just helping you understand. Let's just use appropriate words, right? So I like corpse sandwiches and many kind of pig's corpse or cow corpse, whatever it is, kind of corpse you like. Just admit it. It's like a 12-step program. Anyway, but again, if you're gonna eat the corpse, eat it the way corpse eaters eat it. They don't do anything to it. They don't cook it or anything. So why would we cook? Ah, because that's not what we would naturally want to eat. Oh, you mean instinct? Oh yeah, that's what I mean, instinct. It's not instinctual to eat an animal that's walking, and it's not instinctual to eat a corpse that you find on the street. You got to chop it up, you got to heat it up, you got to put spices and stuff, and you got to call it hamburger, or you got to call it a pork chop, or you got to call it wings, or whatever other name, but not what it is. I'm not going to say that I'm eating. What are you eating? Oh, I'm having some pig corpse tonight. Oh, I'm having some cow corpse. And we just don't. Why? Because it like violates every part of us. And I know right now there's some people that are really upset, and that's okay. I can't help it. And by the way, there is so much evidence to this. And beyond the evidence is the fact that you can recognize the truth. And our anatomy and physiology, believe it or not, is somewhere between, in terms of our gut and all the enzymes and everything, somewhere between an herbivore and a frugivore. That's just anatomy and physiology, because I don't have anything to do with it. You can't blame me. All right, so for the DCIS, what I'm saying is clean up everything. Get your hormones checked by a functional doctor that really knows hormones. Hard to find, but and then what you do is you got to bring them into balance with biologically identical hormones. You got to just bring everything into balance. Your gut biome, all that, because this is happening for the same reason that it always happens. And then you can actually paint iodine, Lugol's iodine, 5%. Put like maybe 4 or 5 drops over wherever it is every day. And you'll take iodine, and there's lots of things you have to do, but you don't get surgery. They want to do surgery. And listen, so what I'm saying is that here's all these women that have been found to have DCIS that they would never have found before if they didn't have these mammograms. And then they die. And they die not because of DCIS, but because of what the so-called treatments do to them. Okay. ER positive, all that stuff. It's madness. Because it's that whatever it is doing right now, expressing in terms of its receptors, etc., is necessary to maintain function in its current environment. That's why you can have triple positive here, and then the lymph node is triple negative, or vice versa, because it's different environments. It's not that it's mutating. But anyway, so I would do that. You can also paint on. Well, that's about it for that. Yeah. You could do frequency work. You can, with PEMF, you can use Rife. But you got to stay active. You got to do all the things that we do. Don't use their language. You do not have stage 2B. Where is it? You do not have DCIS, ERPR. That's what they call it. But anyway, when you say you're eating clean, I gotta know what you mean. What I mean by eating clean is by eating what's appropriate to our biology. And I'm not going to debate right now with anybody, but later on I will. And most people come up with bizarre ideas like we were designed to eat corpses. Because why? Because if they don't like say that, then they can't justify eating it. Well, I just feel better when I eat a steak. Well, okay. I just feel better when I have a cigarette. Mm, okay. I just feel better when I do a shot of heroin. Okay. If you feel good from it, that doesn't imply that you needed it. All right. So here's this Nicole, and I would love your opinion on: is there any way to heal or cure? Okay. Basal cell carcinoma. I'm 35 years old with a past of using tanning beds, which I absolutely regret. I have a bunch of BCC. Again, I'm not real good with acronyms because in almost every paper they use different acronyms. And then if BCC, is that breast cancer cell? I don't know what you mean. Basal cell cells, basal cell carcinoma. Okay. Also, something flat and red on my nose that is about the size of a nickel. I'm worried I may need a serious surgery. Is there anything I can do to help my body heal from this and prevent more? I've looked into apricot kernels and soursop. I'm just wondering if I'm fighting a losing battle, and do I accept this and just do surgery as they show up? I can't think. Okay, so the answer is you don't do surgery if you've got a basal cell carcinoma or a squamous cell carcinoma on the skin, and even a melanoma. You can eliminate it by using something that the body uses. So when the white blood cells show up at a uninvited guest, they produce hydrogen peroxide. Hydrogen peroxide is a biological intermediate. It's in all kinds of systems, but it's one of the biochemical intermediates. Uh, but they make it and they kill it with that. So you can get like I think about 8 or 9% hydrogen peroxide, and you put cover the whole thing, whatever, two or three drops, whatever it is, depending how big it is. Like, well, you try it twice a day for a while. If it's now it's going to burn your the normal skin a little bit at 9%, 8%. And you gotta go online, order food grade hydrogen peroxide. You can use ozone therapy, and um, there is another really amazing cream called Atheon. It's cellular support. They use it for beauty, for because it like gets, because it's just it's just a bunch of minerals in a proprietary blend, but it actually uh, it's got zinc and copper in the right ratio, which is actually necessary to produce SOD, superoxide dismutase. And remember, so live age restricted. Your live may contain themes not suitable for younger audiences and has been age restricted. All right, well, I'll deal with that tomorrow. Not suitable, age restricted. I've seen people send me TikToks all the time that are like crazy, aliens and strange people and what I just said, age restricted. But I thought, isn't it true that if you're 8 years old, you can make a decision to change your gender? I mean, remember, you change your phenotype. I don't know. Okay, okay, I'll deal with that later. I can't deal with that now, but so you're restricting it. I will submit feedback later, okay? My God. Okay, so anyway, by using these, some of the TikToks I've seen are like outrageous, and I can't. Those are okay. And I don't say anything outrageous. I don't know, what did I say? It's age restricted. Anybody know? Jeez. Um, so basal cell carcinoma and squamous cell carcinoma of the skin are usually pretty local. It's the melanoma that actually goes and spreads around and stuff like that. But even with that, you can use this stuff. You can ozonate it. You can get ozonated olive oil, things like that, and you can put this Atheon cream, which will increase the body's ability to fight these things. In fact, Atheon cream is really interesting because you could rub it on a tumor and it's going to help just bring it out, almost like black salve. So you can also put it in your armpits daily, and eventually it's going to pull out stuff, and you'll have like these black things, and it's toxins and mold and everything like that. That's Atheon with Aethon, and it's got these different cations, like zinc and copper and stuff like that, but in the proper ratios. It's amazing. So it's good for any of those kinds of lesions. Melanoma, to put it on a melanoma. But yours is basal cell, so you don't need surgery for that. And whatever's on your face that's red and all that on your nose, no, you don't cut it out, because listen, if surgery worked, this whole industry would be really easier. You just cut it out and you were done, but that never works. Once in a while it does, and it can be very helpful in certain things, like if it's impacting a vital function or something like that. So I'm not saying don't do that, but in your case, no, no. You obviously, something's happening. You need to restore balance. You need to clean out. You need to do everything we've just talked about, and I hope you've been listening. You need to do all that. Plus, you're lucky that since it's there, you can see it and touch it. You can put the peroxide on it, food grade peroxide, um, and with no preservatives or anything like that, and which is not the same that you get it from the pharmacy, because that's 3%. You want to get up to 8 or 9%. Because I was talking about hydrogen peroxide, so TikTok is saying that I'm age restricted. You can buy hydrogen peroxide in the drugstore, and you're supposed to put it on wounds. That's in the drugstore, so it can't be. Anyway, we got to go to Rumble, you guys. Let's just face it, we're going to have to go to Rumble and just stick on Rumble. I mean, this is ridiculous. I don't even know how to censor myself so that I'm not saying things that are whatever. But yes, so you're not going to, and surgery won't help it, because if remember, you have a poison apple tree. Everybody that eats an apple, eats one of the apples, dies. So you call the tree doctor, and they come and they cut off all the apples. Did you solve the problem? No, because next fall you're going to have a harvest. It's not the apple. You've got to cleanse and do all that stuff. You can do intravenous vitamin C, intravenous ozone, and all that stuff. But you got a thing right there, and you can get rid of it with straight ozone. You got to get a doctor who knows what they're doing. They can inject it with ozone. They can give you ozonated olive oil. You can put peroxide on it, and you can put this Atheon on it. Yep. Okay, now here's somebody who says, her name is Susan. I was just told they found a non-solid tumor in my lung. They want to wait 6 months to see if it grows. What should I do? Okay, the word tumor just means enlarged growth, or not even growth, just enlarged. For example, when you have inflammation, acute inflammation, and you get red, hot, swollen, and painful, those are English words for it. So red is called rubor, hot is called calor, red, hot. Oh, and tumor means enlarged. Tumor. Okay, and then these come from Latin. Those are the way the body's healing. It's called acute inflammation. And then they call them, but when they talk about solid stuff, they talk about benign tumors, which what they mean is that it doesn't, when you do a biopsy, you look at it, it doesn't yet have all the uh, histological, which is cellular anatomy, that would identify it as a chronically fermenting cell. And it doesn't spread. But that's a benign tumor, like a lipoma. But so a malignant tumor is one that looks like it under the microscope and it spreads. Okay, so now you don't have to tanning beds. Forget it. Forget yesterday. And you're going to regret it. What does that mean? Don't regret is going to hurt your immune system. Everyone understand about the past. Okay, please. Whatever your story is, it's just a story. And I know it might be painful to remember, but what are you remembering? You are remembering your perception. You're remembering vague fragments and feelings of your perception at the time of an event. Okay, but that's what you're remembering. And three people could have been at that event or had different perceptions and all that. So the perception is not the same as reality. For example, perception is strongly motivated by influenced by motivation. And what I mean by that is if you're hungry and you're walking down the street, you will see restaurants or fruit stands. You're not going to notice the hardware store. You're going to be looking at that. So motivation affects perception. And again, so what I'm saying is that, but I mean, if you had really a bad thing, I'm not saying you didn't have it, but I'm just saying remembering it doesn't help you, right? So we need to be here now in this present world. And so we could all have regrets. Regrets are usually about things you didn't do. My father, before he passed, told me several times he has so many things he regretted that he didn't do. And then some people have some regrets about things they did do. And you know what you have to do with the past? There's only one thing you can do with the past, since you can in no way change it, is accept it and let it go. There's not anything else you can do with it. And whatever you do, if you're one of those people that thinks, well, I'm going to get revenge, you'll never, because it's not going to stop. It's not going to erase what happened. Okay, so don't worry about it. Whatever happened, and that's not even maybe the tanning beds had nothing to do with it. You've also been on this planet and you got exposed to the sun. I mean, and the sun's not our enemy; it gives life. So, again, they've convinced us that the sun is, and then so they've got us putting on these cancer-causing um, um, sun blockers. Let's block the sun. Yeah, and you know what they're doing right now? They're blocking the sun by spraying aerial spraying aluminum and other stuff to reflect the sun, because we've got global warming. Well, from what I heard, we have the coldest year in the last 500 years or something. And I just saw some notice about snowstorms and stuff. And I've never been so cold. I lived in Arizona for a while, and I came back. Now this year's cold, so I don't know. But there's lots of things you can do. But what I'm saying is you got to clean up, get rid of the toxins, and eat human food, and don't eat dog food. And yeah, apricot kernels is amygdalin B17. You can get that actually in a pill form, because the problem with apricot kernels, you don't know the concentration of any one. Okay, so one it might have, so that little handful you take one day might be enough, and the next day it's going to make you really sick because it's got too much of it. Because remember, only orally can that hurt you. IV it can't. And why can it hurt you orally? Because you've got microorganisms in your gut that have similar kinds of enzyme systems as CFCs, so you can get cyanide. Okay. Anyway, so non-solid tumor, that just means it sounds like a cyst, and I'm pretty sure that most cysts are parasites, and you're not going to find it. Don't let them push. I hope they didn't biopsy it. Um, but anyway, don't let them do anything to it. Get on a parasite cleanse. Get my webinar on parasite, and I'll tell you where to go get it and stuff. Because it's hard to find doctors. But by the way, we're going to have a parasite group. I'm going to make just a parasite group. And we're going to answer questions on the spot in these groups, like whatever comes up, not what we've prepared for, what you've written in advance. Okay, here's this from Mia, the stem cell therapy reverse nerve damage from radiation and tumor surgery. Here's the problem with stem cells. It can, absolutely. But the problem is that in the United States, it's been considered unethical for so long, whereas in places like Thailand, they've been using stem cells for a long time. But here's what you got to do when you use stem cells. You can't, like, for example, if it's a differentiated cell in any way, like cell from the fat or something like that, it's not completely pluripotential. They can become anything. So you got to use either amniotic or placental or cord blood stem cells, because those can become things. But then you have to also give some other growth factors that will allow it to grow. Excuse me 1 second. Sorry. So listen. Anyway, the thing about stem cells is they've been doing it for decades in Thailand, and so they're pretty good at it there. And I'm going to give you an example of how they see. You got to get a stem cell that has not yet made up its mind what it's going to be, but you don't want embryonic. They're too much that way. And then you want to get it in the right environment, because it'll become what its environment is. The growth factors that are in that environment. For example, you having something with your liver, you got to go through the hepatic artery to the liver, and then it'll get that. But if you give it systemically, it's going to go wherever there's inflammation. For example, we had a guy he had colon CFCs that had gone to his liver. After about 6 months, they were all gone, but he had New York Heart Association class 4 heart failure, which meant that he had to sit on a wheelchair and use oxygen just all the time. Had no energy. So he wasn't, remember, that's why I'm saying we don't just want to get rid of something, we want to be restored to health. But anyway, he had heart failure, so it means that he had an ejection fraction of like 15%, which is not enough. That's the amount of blood that's ejected from the heart, because the muscle was in trouble. So in those days, this is way back when, and we sent him down to Mexico, where they did a cardiac cath, where they went up into the coronary artery and put in stem cells. He got back to 50 or 60%, which is pretty normal. Okay, and there have been no other way to do it. So stem cell therapy works, but you've got to get the right stem cell, and you got to have the right growth factors, or you got to be able to get it to the place, make sure it's going to go to the place you want it. So there's a lot of things to it, and unfortunately, they haven't gotten that far in America and Europe, and Yeah, but from the radiation and tumor surgery, so you need lots. You need to be really healthy, do all the cleansing, and you've got to get a lot of antioxidants. Um, I don't know if I can. Anyway, there's this stuff called Velasta. Velasta is comes from algae, and it's in terms of its antioxidant potential, it's like 6,000 times more than vitamin C. But it doesn't replace vitamin C because vitamin C is involved in everything else, and it does, it makes your neurotransmitters, dopamine, epinephrine, norepinephrine, serotonin. Without it, you don't make it. I mean, it does that. It's for making collagen, and I mean, so it doesn't replace it. It also can rewrite the epigenetic changes to your CFCs. Yeah. But anyway, but that is a really good, powerful, called Valasta. Go online, you can order it. It's a natural substance. Your excrement, your feces will be red because it's very red. It comes from an algae. Power. In fact, and people, the guy that invented it, put it together, figured it out. Had some sort of CFC. I forget what it was, and they were telling him there was no cure and all that. So he went, figured it out, and he used it, and it went away. I think I forget, was it esophageal or something? It was not. It was one of those ones that's pretty quickly damages you. Anyway, and then many people have said that their CFC has gone away too from it. But so I think everyone should be on it. But and for your question, in terms of the damage from radiation, which will keep coming, is free radicals, which is oxidation, and so you need antioxidants. All right. Now, the tumor surgery that caused scarring and stuff like that, that's a problem. So if you had, and the radiation that caused scarring, if you got scarring already, and you get, like, if you did it around your bowel and you have bowel adhesions, that's a big problem. That's a whole different thing. But to reduce all the injury from the radiation, because radiation keeps on coming, is lots of antibiotics. So you want to optimize vitamin C, you want to optimize vitamin A, vitamin E, and you want to optimize and use Valasta. Um, yeah. Okay, this is from Kimberly. Do you have any idea if hyperparathyroid and tumors can be cured naturally without surgery? Well, they're not cured even by surgery, because if surgery worked, it'd be really easy. Um, the parathyroid, for those that you might not know, are four glands that are around our thyroid on the four corners, and so that's what they call para. Para means next to, and they have nothing to do with thyroid. Their whole job is to their entire function is to regulate calcium. So they produce two hormones. One's called parathormone, which takes calcium out of the bone and increases absorption of calcium, etc. So its job is to get more calcium in the blood. The other one is called calcitonin, which puts calcium back in the bone. So they work together. And so if you've got an enlarged one, or if you're having any symptoms, again, you got to do again, everybody understand that there are no diseases specific. What there is the body has to adapt. To not getting what it needs. Okay, so therefore, you got to do all that stuff, cleansing and all that stuff, and your parathyroid is next to your thyroid, and that drains in. All the lymphatics drain through there from your teeth. So you've definitely got to go to a biological dentist. And then you got to, and you can monitor it by looking at your calcium. Is your calcium high? Fluid, just normal saline, or normal saline, and a diuretic like Lasix just can get rid of the hypercalcemia. The other one is you could take calcitonin, which is, remember, that second hormone that they make, and that'll help keep things in balance. But you want to restore the integrity of that gland, so you got to get rid of all the stuff that we talk about: cleansing, eating, sleeping early, all that stuff. Always should happen when you're healthy and when you're not healthy. Because when you're not healthy, it'll make you healthy, and if you don't keep doing it, you will again get not healthy. So whatever is required to be restored to health, the same is required to maintain health. This is like, it should be something you don't have to even mention. However, anyway, that's what I would recommend. Now, the tumors, again, same thing. Same thing. I don't know your situation. I don't know how bad, or how dysfunctional it is, and how big it is, and all that. I don't know your calcium levels. There's so much I don't know that it's hard to. But what can I say? They can be cured. It can be restored to normalcy. Yes, without surgery. Well, surgery is not going to restore it to normalcy. All right, so let's go down to I just can't do everybody. I've got to. And remember, we're gonna have a parasite group, only parasites. We'll do that. We'll have talks and we'll do stuff like that. And then we're gonna have a breast group, and we're gonna have a pancreatic group, and all that. So I think we can do it good. Oh, that's a big one. Cheryl is saying that my friend had CFCs after a smear. A pap smear, and had a hysterectomy and an oophorectomy. So the hysterectomy means they took out the uterus. Oophorectomy means they took out the ovaries, and removal of lymphatic tissue. So there's another reason for not doing surgery, because unless it's blocking a vital function, because not only does it not work, it makes things worse. Okay, so what can she do? Okay, so no radiation or chemo. It's good. However, unfortunately, she now has disabling lymphedema. Okay. What can she do? You've got to find a certified lymphatic therapist who was also trained in ELT, electrolymphatic therapy. A certified lymphatic therapist who's been trained in ELT. Okay, that is essential. Okay, they can help. And because they learn, they'll know when someone has had certain, like if they had a Whipple procedure for pancreatic CFCs, they'll know, and then they say they removed X amount of lymph nodes, they'll know which way to redirect the lymph, because you got to get the lymph flowing. Edema just means it's blocked. You got to get it flowing. You got to restore that, and you can do it partially manually, very light. If you've ever had a manual lymphatic massage, it's very light because a lot of our lymphatics are just in our skin. However, there are deeper lymphatics as well, and so that's why the electrolymphatic therapy. It's these glass wands. They're not dangerous at all, but they move the lymph. You got to get it moving. But if you're not a certified lymphatic therapist and you move it in the wrong direction, then it could be worse. So you got to get a certified lymphatic therapist, or what's called a lymphologist. They're even beyond that, who is experienced with electrolymphatic therapy. Okay, because unfortunately, one thing about surgery is that it's irreversible. It's already happened. So if surgery is presented to you, remember, never do the irreversible first. But you got to find a certified lymphatic therapist, and that could be difficult. Who does ELT? But find out, and if you have to leave the state to go do it. Come to Arizona. The lady that works with us is like one of the best, really, really good. And in addition to working with us, she has her own office. So she's amazing. So I don't know where you are. We're in Arizona. Okay. So anyway, I can't. So Sharon, can type 2 diabetes be caused by a parasite and be cured with prostacyclin? No. type 2 virus, type 2 uh, diabetes is insulin resistance due to the body's adapting to the fact that there was too much glucose. Remember, everything has glucose. However, um, like, I mean, even spinach has glucose. So you know it's not that kind of glucose, it's the other kind. So if you're eating pasta, bread, potatoes, rice, what else is there? Cake, and of course cakes, but I mean, just those, you think you're eating a low glycemic diet, so you're not getting, it doesn't have a lot of glucose. You remember there's something called the glycemic index, which shows you how high your glucose goes after eating a certain substance. But there's something called the glycemic load, which is how long is it that way. So a potato, for example, won't go as high perhaps as a caramel chocolate, but the caramel chocolate will go like this and like this. The potato will go about maybe 3/4 as high and last for 2 hours or more. So you're actually getting more of a problem. So remember, type 2 diabetes, no, it's not called, there's no such thing as type 2 diabetes. It's a response to too much glucose. Got to change diet, do a cleanse. Everything I'm saying, do a cleanse, and get colonics, work on your lymphatics. I mean, exercise, movement all day, and go to sleep early. But mostly eating. This person could be a non-diabetic within 2 weeks. Just eat 100% uncooked vegetables, plants, salads. Make delicious. Learn how to make like what they call pizza. I don't. They shouldn't. We shouldn't use those kinds of names for the raw food that taste like it. For those going through the transition from eating cooked to uncooked. But we do. But there's things that taste really, really. Breakfast burrito are really, really. So, but anyway, eat uncooked plants, seeds, nuts, and nut butters and seed butters, and it will be gone. A couple weeks, 2, 3 weeks, maybe a month at the most. Drink a lot of water, go to sleep early, get your colon cleaned. It'll be gone. Type 2 diabetes, not type 1. Okay, what? Oh my God, I didn't realize how late it was, you guys. So anyway, I always feel so bad. I didn't answer any questions you guys were asking me either. Uh, oh my gosh, uh, oh, what is the name of the cream for? It's called Aetheion, Aetheion. And so if you don't have anything, or you have whatever, you put in your armpits, and it gets painful, and these black things come out, but then they come out and it heals, and you got rid of stuff. So it's kind of good. Like, it looks like it'd be a good thing to do to not develop CFCs and stuff. Anyway, time is up for today, and I'm sorry, it's just we can't get it all in. That's why we're going to be dividing things up, and I'll be doing these like several times during the week for different groups, and I think it would be more useful to everybody. Let me know if you agree. Okay, Swadee Kap. Namaste.